I have my own agency, SQP. My approach is a little unusual, where I say that law exists already to protect nature, and I've been working on bringing those laws that I identified to life for some years now. I began with identifying legislation within the Rome Statute of the ICC that could hold corporate and investment decision makers directly accountable for their decisions to destroy, based on them intentionally inflicting conditions of life upon the national group that would bring about their physical destruction. So if they're contaminating the water supply through mining, then that's bringing about conditions of life that will destroy the people. As such, they are already criminally liable. I began arguing this law. 5 of my arguments are registered with the court under review. 4 of them are live. These are my environmental arguments. I've recently done an argument against the Syrian war as well. That was accepted for review in August. Because I was actually arguing an existing law, I proposed an extension to the court for sustainability cases. Part of the problem is that there's no budget to advance these cases with any speed. So the court has a responsibility to act to protect, but they have no money to do so, I think, is one of the problems. I also identified another opportunity that sat within the statute, which is that the statute protects national groups, and if we saw coral reefs and the rainforest as a national group, then in fact the statute already protects them. The problem is there's a support text called the elements of the crime, and that limits it to one or two persons or more that are being affected. If we eliminated just that word persons, then in fact coral reefs and rainforests could actually have direct protection. So I actually argued that in each of my submissions to the court. On September 15th this year, the court said that they will now use the Rome Statute to prosecute environmental destruction cases, which is really exciting. So I've got 4 cases that are technically under live review that could come to life to trial and investigation. And for a long time, I've encouraged people to participate. I believe if we have 1 or 2 successful precedents with this law, then investors will change their decision-making habits around the world, because they'll know that they could be liable for 30 years to life imprisonment and full personal financial forfeiture. I have 3 cases in the Amazon. The first one I did was so controversial, I realised you have to fight NGOs before you get to fight the destroyers. That was a case against Belamonte in Brazil. My most recent focus in the Amazon has been in Ecuador, and I've just spent a month deep in the jungle, which I survived, and was one of the most amazing experiences. It's just stunning to be there. And I'll tell you about that in a second, because it's pretty exciting if I have time left. These are some of the children from the jungle giving that symbol. I met these guys recently. They're just absolutely gorgeous. The hope would be is that children around the world could give this symbol to say that this law exists that could single-handedly stop climate change. There's a place on my website where you can see how you can get involved. One of the things I hope to inspire by coming here was scientists who might like to contribute to the evidence profiles, because we can submit an unlimited number of new evidence profiles now to try and compel the court to prosecute. I've got a case in Australia, which is fantastic, to defend the Great Barrier Reef, and a lot of environmental lawyers getting involved in helping with that now. I put a case against the directors of Shell a couple of months before they voluntarily withdrew from drilling the Arctic. I argued their personal liability for 30 years to life imprisonment and full financial forfeiture, just for the attempt and intent to drill. They withdrew voluntarily. I don't know if it was my case that helped, but I hope it had something to do with it. I don't believe in the COP agreement at all. I think if we wanted to transition from dirty industry, we would make it not for profit, and that would force the transition very quickly. It wouldn't shut down any economies, although we wouldn't get the investment for the elderly and the children perhaps, but I think that would be the most efficient way to do it. I'm out of time. So I've got a Syrian war argument, which also I applied the same philosophy. It's under review right now. It's the judicial power to end the Syrian war. Whether they have the courage to use it, it remains to be seen, but it is currently under review. And it argues the same concept that we can effectively make war not-for-profit, just as environmental destruction can currently be not-for-profit, because the court has the right to seize all the revenues in relation to these destructive developments. I also work on the positive side, which is an innovative strategy to transition existing cities to clean energy. That's possible right now, but the legal barriers are what gets in the way, so there needs to be a lot of work done, just really down and dirty in the actual route to market for these solutions that can stop the need for the destruction. I'll just try and quickly mention this. In the Amazon, I wrote a declaration of independence for the Indigenous leaders, and the entire Indigenous leadership of Ecuador signed that declaration of independence. That's been given to Ban Ki-moon. His executive office acknowledged it this week. It's the international law that validates the right for the rainforest to be a country, and for us to couple that within the principles of the Antarctica Agreement to completely protect that ecosystem. This is a picture of Ecuador. It's completely divided up right now for absolute environmental development and destruction. China has been in there. They arrived in Ecuador the same day as me to sign 11 new development contracts. And it's really a mass extermination that's going to happen, and it's happening right across the rainforest. So unless we conversely completely protect it, and the only legal way I've found is through this Declaration of Independence, which enables it to be a new country, then the rainforest is definitely being exterminated. And I just want to say that David Dean has done amazing work in Ecuador, helping the Indigenous to protect directly by funding them, which I think is amazing. That's the declaration. There's videos of all the leaders signing. That's a long story. And this was my final point. In complete frustration at the inability of the UN to use the power of their amazing documents that they have to protect, I read the rules of the nominations for the Secretary General campaign, and there are none. So I nominated myself for Secretary General because they were just ignoring most of the work that could help protect. And there was a little bit of a scuffle about that. They didn't know what to do with it. There's no rule to say that nominations can only come from member states. Everyone at the UN who works there says that they work for the member states. That's a problem because it's the member states that are destroying. So we have a building here with incredible documents to protect, and everyone who works here has always said to me, I work for the governments who destroy. So the day I was supposed to be formalised for a 2-hour interview, they instead held a press conference announcing that the next day they would vote for Coups after 2 hours after I threatened to launch an opposition campaign. So it was a bit of a scuffle. I intend to spend the next 5 years being in opposition to Guterres, just philosophically, because I think the UN has incredible power to protect, but it's a problem right now, it's not working. So that's it.